Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm your host, Regina Price. And I'm currently joined with Dr. Welch, who is the interim director for the Western Tidewater Health District. Thank you, Dr. Welch, for joining me.
Good to be here.
All right, we always love to have you on the show. You're full of information.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, and we're just going to jump right in and talk about things that relate to the summer as far as health, things that we should be concerned about. And we kind of did a topic on mosquitoes, but if you could go ahead and jump in and let us know how are mosquitoes looking in Suffolk.
Mosquitoes are looking pretty bad, actually, to tell you the truth. Mosquitoes is probably number one on my list now in terms of the concern for here locally. The rains have not been helpful to us in terms of mosquitoes. They're helpful to the mosquitoes because they provide lots of standing water, and mosquitoes breed in that standing water. So we are seeing an upsurge of mosquitoes in the area. I can't speak specifically for Suffolk in terms of the testing of the pools of mosquitoes, but I can for Chesapeake, where I'm director, and we do more testing over there. And we have had around the Dismal Swamp, and of course Suffolk and Chesapeake share the Dismal Swamp. We've had positive pools for both the West Nile virus and the Eastern equine encephalitis virus, and usually we don't get those until July or so.
Okay.
So we've had them early in the season. We've had several pools. So we know that not only do we have larger numbers of mosquitoes than what we normally would have this time of year, but we also have mosquitoes that are positive for the virus. We get concerned about them because of the virus and the disease that it can transmit to individuals.
Okay. So it's a concern in a way?
It's absolutely a concern because people can be bitten by these mosquitoes and get the triple E, which is the Eastern equine or the West Nile virus. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to try to make your home environment unfriendly for mosquitoes. We do not want Southern hospitality here. We want your home environment to be unfriendly for that mosquito. That means you want to try to remove as much of the standing water as you can, and it does not require much. A lot of people have these plants with the plates on the bottom of the plant container, and they don't think much about that, but that is all the water that would be needed for these mosquitoes to breed and to therefore have more mosquitoes. So you want to keep that standing water down. Frequently just walk through your yard, especially in that main part of the yard that you use. A lot of places here in Suffolk have large yards, but in that area where you're going to be doing your cookout, say, your barbecue, you're sitting outdoors. And so you want to remove that standing water so that you discourage the mosquitoes from being near you. And very important, when you're out at the end of the day in the dusk, put on that mosquito repellent. Use that spray with DEET in it so that you can repel the mosquitoes. If you're out hiking or walking, because it's lovely areas to walk around here, if you can, wear long pants, tuck them into your boots or your shoes. So again, you're discouraging not only mosquitoes but also ticks, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But definitely use that mosquito repellent and make your home, which is where most people may contract the mosquito, to make it unfriendly for that mosquito by eliminating that standing water and keeping your grass mowed.
Okay, and so an easy tip or a way they can think about it is just kind of dry them out. Wherever you see the water, you tip it over, whatever you need to do. As far as tucking your pants and your socks, it might not be the most fashionable thing to do, but we, like you said, we want to get those mosquitoes gone out of the area that we live.
It's better to be unfashionable and healthy.
Correct. All right, and moving right on into ticks. We have a lot of ticks in this area. There are different kinds, species.
Right, and ticks are another organism, or actually they're like an animal type thing, an insect, that can transmit disease. Around here we worry about Lyme's disease. People have probably heard that. And we are seeing an upsurge. There may be a graph that you have on your screen now that shows how we're seeing an increase of Lyme disease. You look at it, it's an upward trend. Some of that is because, fortunately, we are drawing more attention to the disease, like this program, so we thank you for this. So individuals themselves and the physicians are making the diagnosis sooner. but it also, so that contributes. We probably have had a lot of Lyme's disease in the past, but just weren't aware of it because the diagnosis wasn't being made. But we do have Lyme's disease in the ticks in this area, and so we do worry about it. Let me just sort of give you a brief and quick kind of tick lesson here.
All right, absolutely.
The eggs of the tick are laid in the spring, and then they hatch into the larvae in the summer. And the larvae get the Borrelia, which is the germ that causes the Lyme's disease, because they feed on the small rodents like your mice and your birds. And so if those animals have that Borrelia organism, then those larvae get that organism. And once they get it, it stays with them through all stages of the cycle. And after the summer, those larvae sort of become inactive until the next spring. And then they go into the nymph stage. Now it's the nymph, and hopefully you're seeing up on your screen now some comparison of the sizes of these ticks. They're very, very small. You can see compared to a dime, which is a small coin, how small these deer tick nymphs are. And it's really the nymph that is the main culprit and the adult tick that are the main culprit. And so then that following spring they become nymphs. That nymphs will feed on the mice, larger rodents, but most significantly, it's the nymph that will also feed on humans. The larvae doesn't really do that. It's the nymph that will feed on the humans. If you have lots of mice in the area, the preference is to feed on those mice and the rodents, but if humans are around, they will also feed on the humans, and that's how they transmit the virus to the human. Those nymphs then will become adults in the fall, and the adults also will feed on humans. So you have the two parts of those cycles, the nymphs and the adults that will feed on humans. That adult then becomes inactive during the winter, and back in the spring lays the eggs, and the whole cycle begins again. And the things that contribute to having a high prevalence of the ticks, which we do see around here, is, again, they like this kind of weather that we're having, unfortunately, and they like the tall grass and stuff where they can hide. And when you have lots of rain, you don't get to mow your grass as often as you usually do. And so not only do you have moisture on that grass, which contributes to the mosquitoes that we've just mentioned, but it also contributes to these ticks who like that tall grass. So again, you want to try and mow your grass, especially where you're going to be sitting out in the evenings or having your cookouts, so that you discourage both those mosquitoes and the ticks. And again, as we've mentioned before, wearing the long pants so that you can discourage those ticks. Now, the important thing about Lyme's disease that I want to let you know is that the tick has to be on you for about 36 to 48 hours to actually be able to transmit that germ to you. So we have a nice window of opportunity where pretty much you can prevent the transmission of the disease. So you can fool that tick. You can fool it by removing it from your body.
Okay, and how do we do that?
All right, great segue, right?
Yes.
And we do have some pictures that I think you're going to see on the screen that demonstrate the use of the tweezers to remove the tick. There are a lot of wives' tales. I grew up in the South, grew up putting, the clear nail polish on or some of these other kinds of things. That doesn't do it.
Right.
And that will not do it. We want to remove that tick, and we want to remove it before 36 hours, so we want to foil its efforts to transmit disease. And you want to try to remove, as that picture demonstrates, the whole tick. You don't want to leave some of those mouth parts in, because that also can transmit other germs that can get infected. And after you remove the tick, you want to clean that area very well with alcohol or an antiseptic. So if there are other kinds of germs, not just the Lyme virus, then you're going to eliminate the possibility of that as well. And I have a great opportunity for people where they can get what we're going to call a tick kind of a bag.
Okay, yeah.
No ticks, but how to remove the ticks. And if you will call 514, hopefully this number's on the screen as well, 514-4768, you will reach our Medical Reserve Corps coordinator, and the Medical Reserve Corps coordinator can provide you some of these tick packets. And in the tick packets we've distributed through the Medical Reserve Corps, we've made thousands of these so we can make them available to our citizens throughout the Western Tidewater Health District. And they include tweezers, they include instructions, they include an alcohol swab so you can clean afterwards, of how you can remove the tick. So this is very, very valuable for you because you can foil that tick completely by removing them before they're able to transmit disease in that 36 to 48 hour period.
Well, that's excellent that the Western Tidewater District provides this.
Free of charge.
Free of charge. And we'll definitely put the number up again so that you know where and how to get your own tick packet. Because the key is you don't want people, you know, fearful where they're just in the house.
Oh, right,
you know,
no.
You can't do that this time of year.
This is a beautiful area. You want to go out and enjoy it. There are wonderful places to walk here, just enjoy the outdoors. So we want you to be outdoors, plus it's healthy.
Yes.
It really is to be outdoors and walk. So we want you to enjoy it. We just want you to know the caveats of how you can be healthy and not make yourself prone to getting Lyme's disease. I also will mention, because we certainly do border on Alawite County, that the Christmas store in Smithfield has a lot of these packets if you happen to be over there, and they will give them to you free as well.
Okay, and we do want to move a little bit into things that pertain to warm weather, such as sunburn prevention, hydration.
Right.
But quickly, just so people know, we're referring to the ticks. What are some symptoms that they should look for
Yes.
in terms of the Lyme disease?
Good question, and I should have said that earlier, so I'm glad you brought it up. Yes, the incubation period, or the time from when you're exposed to the virus to the time when you might get Lyme's disease, is anywhere from 3 to 30 days. The average is about 7 days. And about 3/4 of the people will get a characteristic rash, which you will probably have on your screen now. We call it a target rash, or erythema migrans is the official medical name for it, but it looks like a target. And that's pretty classic, and that occurs around where the bite occurred from the tick. So if you have that kind of a rash, that's pretty classic. You want to talk with your physician, because the good news is antibiotics can treat it if given early very effectively. In addition to the rash, the kind of symptoms that you might get is tiredness, muscle ache and pain, may get joint pain, may get a fever. And so if you have those occurring within 3 to 30 days after you know you've been exposed to a tick, then, or you've been out walking where you know there have been ticks, then you really want to talk with your physician so that you can get appropriate antibiotic. Now, there are a percentage of people, maybe 10 to 20%, there's some difference of opinion on this, different schools of thought, individuals who are not treated, who may go on to develop chronic disease. In other words, they may have several months or more of symptoms. And usually those types of chronic disease symptoms are related to joint pain or joint swelling. So we hope by providing early antibiotic treatment and providing it long enough that you not only prevent you from having the acute disease, but you also prevent yourself from having any of the long-term symptoms.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And just quickly, we're kind of running out of time here. If you could go a little bit into, like I was saying, the warm weather prevention. We have sunburns, you know, people lying in pain. What are some things that they can do? You know, they enjoy the weather, but then, you know, we have.
We're being optimistic, right?
Yes.
We're going to get some warm weather. Yes, yes. We are going to get some warm weather.
We will.
We're all sitting, waiting patiently for that warm weather. No rain, warm weather. But even as we enjoy the warm weather, and we all do enjoy the warm weather around here, we do have to take appropriate precautions, and sunscreen is vitally important. I grew up in Florida, and I have to confess we didn't really know about the bad effects that you can have from the sunburns and the sun itself, and so a lot of people are now experiencing the problems with skin cancer or melanomas. So those are the things that you worry about. I have siblings who have already had skin cancers removed because we didn't know how to protect ourselves. So that's what we learn now, is how to protect ourselves so we can still enjoy the sun, still go out there, be walking in the weather, go to the beach. We have so many ways here that you can enjoy the beautiful outdoors and warm weather, but you want to provide that protection from the sun. You want to use sunscreen. Wear a hat so it protects your face. Nowadays there are fun hats you can get, so it sort of get into the spirit of fun as well. But to wear the hat, wear sunscreen, And you really don't want to be, if you can avoid it, staying out constantly in the sun beating down on you. You want to have some opportunities where you have some shade and where you can be protected. And along with that, let me very quickly mention, a lot of times, especially here in the South with the warm weather, what goes along with being outdoors but packing a picnic. And eating. We enjoy eating.
Yeah, gotta eat.
and having cookouts and family get-togethers over at our homes out in this warm weather to enjoy it. Well, that means we have to also pay attention to the temperatures, because during the summer we are inclined to see more foodborne illnesses because that potato salad or that chicken salad may taste scrumptious, but you may also be eating germs if you've not kept it at the proper temperature. So in preparation for these wonderful eating occasions, you want to be sure that you've cooked your foods properly and refrigerate them the night before. If you're cooking big batches for a big family gathering, divide it into several different bowls so that we know even at the core of the food it's getting chilled to the proper temperature and not just halfway.
Right.
Because if it's just halfway and then you set it out for everybody to enjoy, those people get to that core where it hasn't completely cooled are going to have germs as well. So you want to be sure, when you're going on a picnic, get them iced. Be sure they're refrigerated the night before. Don't just cook it that morning, not have time to properly chill it, and then take it, or you're going to be prone to having a foodborne illness as well.
Okay. All right, and we all know summertime you need to drink plenty of water. There's all kinds of beverages out there, but water is pretty much the only thing.
Yes, water's really the most important thing. You sweat a lot when you're outside, which means you're losing a lot of the water, a lot of the fluids. So you really want to replace water. Take plenty of water. It doesn't even have to be chilled water. You're replacing your loss through sweating with drinking lots and lots of water. So we want to encourage you to drink that. Now I know beer is also very popular and alcohol substances, but they're not going to replace the water like water. In fact, they may have a negative impact. So even if you're drinking alcohol, please drink water in between so we can be sure you're well hydrated.
Okay, well, Dr. Welch, you are definitely a wealth of information, and we really appreciate you coming and taking time to, get us prepared for the summer and that warm weather that's coming.
That's right, it's coming.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the show. And we would like to leave you with Here's to Your Health.